Well, I think we're live. I'm just having a look to see if I can find the chat box. And yeah, welcome. So if I do miss your comments in the chat box, please, I will definitely try and answer your questions. And if I do miss them while on this workshop, I will be happy to answer them afterwards. I'm just trying to see if I can do all of these things at the same time. And so just a little bit about myself while we're waiting for other people to join the workshop. I homeschooled my 3 sons all the way through high school, got them ready for college. They're all now young adults, over 20. And I've just had this week, my oldest son just moved out of the house. And so I'm officially an empty nester. And so that's a new transition for me for sure. So what I'm going to do today is just having a look to see who's logging on. Welcome to all of you, and I hope this workshop will be a very big help to you. I hope that I can, share some of my ideas that I have as a life coach. Before I begin the workshop, I coach parents, I coach teenagers and young adults, helping them through their homeschool journey. As an ex-homeschool mom myself, I understand the challenges that teens are going through and challenges for parents to prepare their teens for adulthood. And so this workshop today is about, parenting teens with a coaching mindset and just helping them with more ownership to help them to be more confident, self-directed learners. And when you can change your parenting and you've got to make a transition, parenting with a coaching mindset will also improve relationships. And it will be, it's important how you show up. And this really improves the whole family dynamics. And so this is why I want to talk to you more about how do you coach with a coaching mindset. And so the shift that needs to be made is really from telling them what to do to helping them tell themselves what to do. Because this is what helps them to be ready for adulthood, helping them to direct their own lives as opposed to somebody always directing them and telling them what to do. It just gets them ready, helps them to learn how to balance autonomy and responsibility. And so often what happens is our teens want the autonomy, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. Or they don't know what that responsibility looks like because parents are constantly telling them what to do and being the experts on their teens and not allowing them to realize that they are the capable experts on their own lives and they can make their own decisions. And so letting them balance that and giving them more responsibility helps them to know that this is the responsibility that comes with more ownership. And so they need to grow together, the autonomy and the responsibility. And so the transition is from going from telling them what to do to helping them tell themselves what to do. It's really about changing your role, going from being the manager or the boss mom to being more of a coach and learning how to coach like a boss instead of being the boss of your teen the whole time. And so it's really showing up in a different mindset completely. And so it's maybe you're in this position where you just feel like you're doing it all and you're super mom to the rescue and you managing them, monitoring them, making decisions for them, deciding their schedules. And it's pretty exhausting. And maybe you feel like you need to be the expert on your teen. And maybe it's a time where you just take some time out and think about, well, what is my role? What is my role as a parent in my teen's life? Is it to be the expert on them? Is it to be super mom to the rescue? And perhaps your amazing super mom, super parent powers are actually getting in the way and holding your teen back, not allowing your teen to actually take on those responsibilities. And so perhaps now it's a time to kind of take a bit of a step back and to reevaluate where you want to go and what are your goals you have, for your teenager. And so the question is, and this is a tough one, is how much do I direct my teen? And how much do I allow my teen to direct themselves? And that's a good question to find that balance. Like, when do I let go and when do I get involved? And that's the transition, and that really is not always that easy. And so it's when do I let my teen be the expert, and when do I be the expert? And obviously there's times when you have to step in, okay, when there's danger or there's non-reversible consequences. And obviously I'm not speaking specifically about those things, but in general, you need to just ask yourself, like, okay, what are the consequences if I don't step in? Can we live with this? Yeah, this is not as bad as it could be. And so just evaluating that, and ask yourself, and how to let go of control. And maybe just some rhetorical coach questions that I ask my clients and students and parents is, what is holding me back? What am I afraid of? If I let go, if I don't be involved in my teen as much as I think I should, what are my fears? What are those underlying insecurities that I need to deal with? What's my relationship to failure? And possibly, maybe you're looking at your identity is, how your teen performs, is how you think people will if they'll value you more. If your teen seems to be doing well, then you must be a good parent. Or if my teen doesn't do well, then I must be a bad parent. And so those are all limiting beliefs that are really not true at all. And so just having a look at those things and doing some soul searching and figuring out, I know this is hard, taking a step back and even allowing your teen to fail. And I think this is one of the hardest things for parents of teens. And I think if I had to do it all over again, I would have allowed my sons to fail more. And so I understand it's not easy, but maybe I want to just encourage you with helping you in that, because, rather that they learn how to fail now when the stakes are not so high, then later on when the stakes are much higher. They've got to pay their rent, they've got to look after a family. Let them learn those lessons now in a safe environment where there are safety nets. And so just looking at that, and also just knowing that when they fail, that's when they're learning. That's when they learn the most. There's a wonderful quote by a coach, John Maxwell, and he says, fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. And so it's about what are they learning through that failure, because that's the best time they learn from their mistakes. They learn what not to do. And just a little bit of brain science, a bit of neuroscience is when they learn for themselves, they're making much stronger connections in their brain. There's a much more lasting change, because they're building those neuron pathways that help them to strengthen the areas of the brain that's not quite fully developed. And the prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that normally takes up till about 25 years to get fully developed. And so you are helping the brain make those connections, and they only make those connections when they get to think, when they get to figure out solutions to their own problems, when they get to critical thinking. All these executive functions is what they're lacking. And so, getting them to problem solve is helping to build those areas of the brain. And so it's like a muscle that needs to be practiced, and over again, repetition. And so why not help them with that now, and so that they will be so much ready for later on. They'll be able to handle the big real world problems and be able to be critical thinkers, problem solvers. And so, moving from being, boss mom to coaching like a boss really does help your teens to be more ready for the world of work one day when they need to leave home. And so coming back to failure, and the hard part is that we don't, it's painful. It's painful to watch our kids fail. And so you need to have a healthy mindset to this. You need to be comfortable with knowing it's going to be painful, being comfortable knowing it's going to be uncomfortable. And so just know it is going to be hard, but look at the benefits of it, and how what they learn now is just so amazing for the life lessons for later on. And so how do we actually, parent with a coaching mindset. So, you need to have some sort of practical ideas of what this looks like. And so we're going from being the manager to being the coach. And so if you kind of make an analogy and look at it as if you're kind of got two hats, okay, and you have your manager's hat on and then your coach's hat on. And so there's times when you do need to manage, there's times when you do need to jump in, you put your manager's hat on. And then there's a time when you take a step back and you put your coach's hat on. And so the big difference there is, a manager tells employees what to do, tells them how to do the work, when to do the work, how to get organized. And so you're going from speaking, telling them what to do, giving advice, to listening. So that's the first transition, from saying to listening. And so there's less speaking involved with being a coach. And so it's about being curious. It's about, instead of focusing on your solution or your idea that you want to tell your team or the things that you want to say, you're now focusing completely on your team. And because you wanted to hear the heart, you wanted to hear what they have to say. It's not about giving advice. It's getting to why they think the way they think, so that you can encourage them to think up their own ideas. And so what a coach also does, a coach gives space for them to explore, for them to not feel judged, so that you can build that trust and respect that any relationship needs. And so that when they feel heard and understood, that is when they're going to open up more. That is when you're going to have a lot more connection. And so the other thing that a coach does is acknowledging their feelings, not telling them how they must feel. And so if they feel hurt or they feel angry, let them have the freedom and the non-judgmental environment to actually voice those opinions and tell you how they feel, and then just be able to empathize with them. And so you've gone from speaking to listening. And so what a coach does is listens. The second thing that a coach does is asks questions. And so the manager gives advice, where the coach sits back and just asks the questions, because you're encouraging critical thinking. And so that's the other thing. And this takes a lot of practice. It's not always easy, because it's much easier to jump in with the solution. And so this takes a lot of practice. But think about it. When you asking the questions and when you are bringing them to a solution, not your solution, but their solution, you are creating buy-in. The power of buy-in is phenomenal, because this is where they take the ownership. How much more likely are they to listen to your idea as opposed to listen to their own idea? Because that's the idea, that's the solution that's going to work for them. And so when I coach students or parents, through the questioning, through the, powerful questions, being curious, it gets them to a point of that aha moment. Oh, I know what I need to do. This is what I need to do for myself. And it's very interesting, because when I started doing my coach training, it was so much easier to solve the problem. And when I had the solution in my mind and the student came up with their own solution, it was way better than my idea. And so the whole thing is, it's a unique solution. It's their solution. It is more than likely not going to be your solution. And so that's where they grow. That's where they learn to take more ownership. And that's where they learn that they realize that they are the capable experts on themselves. They know that you're the capable expert. They want to know that they can do it. They want to do it. They want the ownership. And so that's really powerful. And so listening, asking questions, and then you might be thinking, well, how does it look? How do I ask these questions? What kind of questions? So those who've just joined, hi, welcome. So the next thing is, what kind of questions do you need to ask? So the first thing I want to say is, try and use more what and how questions as opposed to why questions. Why questions can sound a bit more judgmental. And so, I'll just give you an example. So if your teen isn't doing his work, you say, why aren't you doing your work? Why don't you do your work? Why don't you just get down to doing your work? It just doesn't sound like a very like a question that's going to get them into a conversation. It just sounds a bit more judgmental. Why don't you rather ask them, what are you finding hard about this subject? Gee, I know this is a tough subject. I would also struggle with this at school. What are you finding hard? What are you finding the most challenging? And so just kind of like, because you're empathizing, you're with them, okay? Or you could say something like, well, I can see you struggling to keep up with your work or your schedule. How would you like me to support you? And very often it's more like, why aren't you keeping up? You should be doing your chores. We're instructing, asking a question just doesn't make it sound so bossy, because it's not bossy. And so how would you like me to support you is a great question to ask. Another thing a coach does is waits to be invited in to share their opinion or their advice. And so as a coach, I don't give advice or tell any of my students or parents what to do, as I said. And so what I will do is I'll say, do you mind if I make a suggestion? So that's one thing you can do as well. Do you mind if I make a suggestion? It's a great way of they'll be much more open to hear from you. But don't use this too much, because they may get clever and think, the only way mom is asking me this is because she really wants to tell me what to do. And so, and then when you do make a suggestion and they don't like it, don't take offense. Just leave it. That's okay. The other thing you could do is, when you really want to get involved and help them and not advise them or tell them what to do, is brainstorm ideas with them. That's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And it's something that we just forget to do because we're so busy being super mom to the rescue that we forget that this is a tool that we can use. So brainstorming is really going to them and saying, hey, because you want to have permission. Would you like us to brainstorm some ideas together? How would that work? And so you get to have, some of your ideas, but make sure that you're open to their ideas, you're open to their opinions. It's not all about them choosing your ideas. Don't take offense to that. You're wanting to grow them as individuals. And then if they do have an idea where you really think this is not going to work, don't tell them this is not going to work. Just say, oh, that's an interesting idea. How would that look? Like, how would you do this? How would you implement this? Get curious. And so a coach gets curious. It's a lot safer, and just, you want to hear their heart. You want to understand where they're coming from. You want to see how they think. Like, why are they coming up with that solution? And you might find that actually, now that they've explained it, now you see that it can work. This is a great idea. And so you're getting them to always share their ideas, to getting them to share their solutions. It's really powerful, and it creates a lot of connection. It really does change the whole family dynamics in the home. And so now that I have, given you some ideas, you might think, okay, that's all very well. Okay, I need to listen. I need to, not always, tell them what to do. I need to ask questions, and I need to ask some powerful questions. What do I do now? Like, where do I go from here? So after hearing, this workshop, what I would do is make a suggestion is I would now schedule a powerful, purposeful conversation with your teens. And just to think about, because you want to have a conversation, because you can't just suddenly go into coach mode. You need to be able to go to them and say, this is what I'm going to do. And so I would go to them and I'd say, I've been learning some new tools. I've been learning how to be more of a coach. I don't want to be nagging you all day long. I don't want to be your manager. I don't want to monitor everything that you do, because I really want to give you more ownership. I want to see you realizing your capabilities, because I see that you're capable. I see that you have these creative, resourceful ideas. And maybe it's a time to ask for forgiveness. If there's something that's nudging you, after listening to this, and say, I just want to really apologize because I haven't done XYZ like I should, or, that it's forgiveness and apologies are very powerful and very healing. And, making your teen realize that this is a partnership. Okay, this is a partnership. You're learning how to let go. and say that, I'm learning how to be a parent of a teen. And maybe it's your first teenager, and you say, I haven't done this before. I'm just learning. And so I'm learning how to let go. And you're learning how to balance the autonomy and the responsibility. And I want to help you with that. And maybe you could have a conversation about what is autonomy and responsibility. Like, I know you want the independence, you want the autonomy, but I want to show you what the responsibility looks like that comes with that, because I know that that's going to help you to grow into the man God wants you to be, or the woman God wants you to be. And so, just tell them that they're capable. Say you are learning, you are wanting to do better. And then tell your teenager that you're going to fail. You're both going to fail at it. And it's okay. It's okay. Let's pick up the pieces and let's learn through these mistakes and move forward. And so let them know that it's okay. It's really important for them, because there is that fear of failure. And then practice, practice, practice. And lots of prayer, because these are habits, these are new ways of thinking, these are new ways of doing things that take a lot of time. And often we as parents want to see the change in our kids, and we forget how hard it is, because when we want to change something, it takes a lot of practice. And so just having that understanding, as we want to see change in them, we need to also be the ones to be ready to change. And so look at our own hearts, look at our own lives. Like, where is it what's getting me down? What's holding me back? How can I be a better parent? And so those are always good questions. And so once you've had that conversation, you say, okay, I'm going to start backing off a little bit so that I can give you a chance, I can give you space. And so you need to then also set some kind of action plan, because it's no good just having a conversation and then just like letting it go. It's nothing worse going to a meeting and you have this amazing conversation and no one has set an action plan. Like, okay, so what was that all about? What's the takeaway? And so you need to come to a point where you say, okay, so how do we move forward from here? And so good coaching questions to ask are something like, so how can I support you from here? What do you want me to do more of? Or what do you want me to do less of? And you might get the answer, Mom, I just want you to stop nagging me. Say, okay, so what does that look like? And then there'll be a specific example of maybe where you do nag. And say, okay, so what's your plan in helping you to get your work done? What are your ideas? And also when they come up with something that they're kind of accusing you of or whatever, don't see it as accusing. Let it go. Don't get your feelings, don't get your emotions involved. Just get curious about why they're saying that. If they say, you're nagging me or you're doing this, don't get defensive. Just hear their heart. Okay, tell me more about that. By the way, another great question to ask is what else? So when you're having a conversation and they're telling you how they feel, say, what else? What else is bothering you? What else is challenging? Because you want to always encourage that communication. What else? And also what that does, it stops you from jumping in with a solution. It helps you to take a step back. And this is what questions do. They just help you to just take a step back and not give advice. And it helps you to calm down as well. There was just an extra thing. And so what's the plan of action? And so what you could do, whatever you've decided, what that looks like, one small step, I would, maybe you want to check in once a week or check in every day, depending on how old your teen is. And two great questions to ask are, what's working really well? What's working? Okay, have a celebration. And then another question is, what's not working well? Okay, what's not working? And that's where you get to talk about, okay, your teen will say, well, I thought if I made a schedule, this would work. And if I put math in the morning and I'm doing English at this time, actually didn't work so well because, I slept late or I did this. And say, okay, so what are your ideas for doing that differently this week? Okay, get ideas from them. And so you're constantly evaluating and with your relationship, what's working in our relationship? What's not working in our relationship? How can we move forward? How can we be accountable to each other? This is a partnership, and let them know that as well. And so, just by having more of a coach mindset, you are actually empowering your teens to direct themselves. And that's what I do as a coach. I don't tell my students what to do. I empower them to direct themselves. And what's really interesting is when I do meet with students is sometimes like I have to explain to them what a coach does, because they straight away get into receiving mode because they're so used to being told what to do. They're being told what to do by everybody, their teachers, their counselors, everyone's just telling them what to do. And so they're kind of in the receiving mode. And I say, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to help you think. I'm here for greater self-awareness so that you can realize your full potential. You can realize your capabilities, that you are the expert, the capable expert on yourself. And so they straight away get into that. They realize that they're going to have to do some work. As I'm just asking all the questions. Not that I do less work, but I'm not having to solve everything. I'm not having to solve, it's quite if you think about it, Super Mom to the Rescue is a pretty hard job because you have to keep solving everything. And so, so I hope that this has been helpful to you, and thank you so much for being here. And I'll definitely take a look and answer questions if I've missed any. And I appreciate your time, and please message me if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.